This is Robert Kraft, and I'm your host on SNN.Network. And joining me today is Geert Kersten. He is the CEO of CEL-SCI Corporation. It's a publicly traded company. The symbol is CVM on the NYSE American. Geert, good to see you again. How you doing?
We're doing well, thank you. And it's good to see you again. Video though, not in person.
It's good to see you too. It's been a while, as we'll get to in a minute. So first things first, how's everyone holding up? How's the family? Everyone healthy, safe?
Everybody's fine, thank you. The dog loves it.
The dog.
It is interesting though how certain habits have changed. I see the need for all this continuous travel diminish.
I gotta say, Geert, I gotta say, and I joked with you offline on this, but since COVID broke out, I think all CEOs' backgrounds and offices have never been more organized.
Well, I'm not quite there yet, but we will get there.
So, Geert, with that, let's start with a quick overview and history of the company. So, where'd you start? How did we get to where we're at today?
All right, it's a long story. It's a lifelong project. So you've got to make it personal, right? We all know people who've had cancer. Some survived and some died. What are the first treatments? Some combination of surgery, radiation, chemo, right? And what do you hope for? Is that the tumor never comes back. Well, what do you do when it comes back? That's generally the beginning of the end. The only time we talk about a cure in cancer is with the first treatment. It's called intent to cure. It's a medical term. We didn't make it up. So we hope that the combination of surgery, radiation, and chemo will eliminate everything. Surgery is still the best treatment, but there are micrometastases that you cannot see, therefore you can't remove them. We know that they cause the recurrence, so therefore we follow up with radiation or radiation and chemo. And we hope that you're taken care of. But the problem is so many people are not. And then all the new drugs that come in, they give you either no life extension or they give you 2 or 3 or 4 months. We feel we need to do better. So our idea is that the power to fight disease resides in us, right? So your immune system has kept you alive all of this time. And right now, there are billions of immune cells running through our bodies. They, however, cannot fight your tumor because the tumor is like a terrorist, it hides. So it's like the police. There's enough police to take out a terrorist, but the police needs to have the intel. Where's the bad guy? What does the bad guy look like? That's what our drug does. What we want to do is, by activating your immune system and my immune system, early on, while it's still healthy, because once you had surgery, radiation, chemo, it's not healthy anymore. Early on, we want to increase your chance of being cured. We want to hopefully use the immune system to eliminate those very micrometastases that end up killing the patient. It's never been tried. It's never been done. It's not specific to one tumor. It's an immune system drug that can hopefully help on the treatment of most solid tumors.
Got it. All right. So, believe it or not, it's actually been 4 years since our last interview. I guess time flies. And, we don't need to go through each individual highlight, but the company's been through a lot since we last talked. And now, you guys came out with news earlier this year that you're developing an immunotherapy to treat COVID-19 coronavirus infection. So can we reflect on the journey for CEL-SCI up until today?
Well, I say my thanks every single day. Just being right is not enough. The world is full of intelligent and driven people, and they can't make it to the finish line. With the support of so many people who've believed in us, we've finished a 9-year, 4-month phase 3 clinical trial, which, by the way, should have ended several years ago, but somehow the patients aren't dying at the rate at which one had expected them to. So it's a very good thing. We're very happy about that. I don't want to get hung up on the past. We had huge battles. they were life-threatening. But it doesn't matter. Every biotech company had that. I remember Celgene at $70 million, and they called me on a financing, and I said no, and 9 years later it was $20 billion, okay? The bottom line is it's data-driven. We believe we're going to be successful. Everything that we've been through, we believe we won because the drug works. And we are going to have our final readout very, very soon. And it's the largest study ever done in head and neck cancer with overall survival as an endpoint. The disease of head and neck cancer is miserable. The last approval in advanced primary head and neck cancer was 60 years ago. It's an orphan drug. It's a huge change. And by the way, you don't focus on money. You focus on helping and changing. The money comes from that if you set it up properly, which we did. So there's so much more that we can talk about, but I don't want to be dragged down by the past, the battles, the scars that we come with. I want to focus on the amazing things that the winning the battles tells you about what our study must look like. Remember, we are blinded. We don't see the details, but you don't win battles like this unless the data is good. And therefore, we believe that we are going to be successful with a major, major cancer drug.
No, absolutely. And look, I'm not here to drag up the past or anything like that, or get too detailed. It was really more just because, look, what you went through, as you said earlier, a lot of biotechs go through, CEOs have to go through. So for me, it was interesting to understand the perseverance that you had to get through those battles to get to where you're at today. So, I mean, can you provide any kind of color on that?
Well, let me put it this way. We're the first in the world to put a drug before surgery. And it's intent to cure surgery, so you're not allowed to delay it. You have a very short time period. We did that. We have run the largest clinical trial ever in head and neck cancer. We have built our own manufacturing facility before the phase 3 clinical trial, full-scale manufacturing facility. We have run a study in 24 countries to the highest standards. We're the first in the world to win a legal case against a CRO. Those are the companies that run clinical trials. We're the first in the world to have gotten legal funding for a legal case. So, you know, I just say my thanks every single day. Being good and persistent is not enough. We somehow have found that little extra, which I think has allowed us to survive, succeed, and hopefully we'll be able to prove the success of the drug very soon.
And if anybody wants to question your passion for the business, look, you've been CEO since '95, so you weren't about to let this go away anytime soon.
Well, even more so. I've put millions of dollars into this company, right? Just in the last, I mean, even this year I've bought stock at market price, right? Last year I bought stock. The prior year I bought stock. 3 years ago, I've always bought stock. The last stock I sold was in the year 2000. Yeah, year 2000, a tiny amount. So there is nothing normal about this. What's really unusual also is I have a team who's been with me for 25 to 30 years. Show me the company that has that. We believe that we can change the way we treat cancer. Think of your mother, think of your sister, think of your friend who died of cancer, right? Are the current treatments of surgery, radiation, and chemo good treatments? Shouldn't we be able to do better by involving our own immune system, but while it's healthy, right? Once you've had surgery, radiation, chemo, as other people do it, they're not healthy anymore. Shouldn't that be the key? That is what this is about. And if this works, which we do believe, we should have a non-toxic cancer drug, and I don't know of any other ones today, and the first cancer drug to be used after treatment. You start with head and neck cancer, which is from here to there, about 650,000 cases. Miserable disease. We cut tongues out, we cut half of people's faces off. It's just absolutely miserable. And the treatment successes have been extremely limited in that area. But why not go to others? Cervical, we've shown very good results. Melanoma, a while ago also, several years ago, we had some good data. Why don't we take a woman's breast off? Right? It's because we can't be sure that we got every micrometastasis. We believe the immune system, your immune system, is the way to find and kill those micrometastases. We cut tongues out, we cut breasts off. It's barbaric. Change comes not from a desire to achieve money. Change comes from a desire to make things better. And then hopefully the money is made from the fact that you set it up, that the money automatically flows from it. So I tell our investors, don't invest just for money. Know that we at the company focus on the change for the patients. The greater the benefit to the patients, the more money you will make as a shareholder. But don't turn it around. No one can last this long, do a project of this length if it is for money. You've got to do the right thing.
All right. So another question that I had to follow up on also is, as I spoke to a little bit earlier in one of my earlier questions about the news the company put out on developing an immunotherapy for COVID-19 coronavirus infection. Can you give us a little more color on that and where you're currently at in the development?
So this is a different technology than our cancer technology. This technology, we called it LEAPS, has gotten many government grants. And during the time of the pandemic flu H1N1, we developed it as a treatment against pandemic flu. And then pandemic flu went away. It unfortunately does not look like that's going to happen to COVID-19. So in studies with the US government at NIAID, we did animal studies that showed protection and reduction of mortality and morbidity against H1N1. And what our drug does is it essentially drives you towards certain immune responses. Now comes the key part. We can produce T cell responses without the unwanted inflammation. Usually T cell responses, like Multikine, produces lots of T cell responses, which is what you want, but it does it with a lot of inflammation. You do not want to add inflammation to a COVID-19 patients. They die from inflammation. So this technology is the only immunotherapy in the world being developed for COVID-19, and it holds a promise because it's both anti-inflammatory as well as antiviral. So we want to now repeat those very good results that we had against H1N1 in animals against corona, COVID-19. And if that works, then develop it as a treatment for patients. Let's be realistic. 80% of people get it are fine. 30% are asymptomatic, don't even know it. What holds people like me back from doing normal activities? I'm healthy, I don't have the risk factors, I'm extremely fit for my age, so I'm a little bit at risk because I'm not 20 years old anymore, but I don't worry about that. What holds me back is that I'm that random guy that I read about. There's a 25-year-old super athlete who's fighting for his life. I don't want to be that, so I worry, well, maybe I shouldn't be doing that. It's happening to all of us, isn't it? So therefore, that is what's destroying the economy. And so we need to find a medicine that makes you and me more comfortable about going out and doing everything, traveling again, and all of these different things, that if we get the disease, we will have a medicine that stops us from having that really bad outcome. That's the medicine we seek to develop. And unfortunately, so far, the front runner medicines have not provided that. There have been a number of studies, and they have not removed that fear of a random death for, call it middle-aged, healthy individuals.
Okay, so got it. So where is the company currently at in development? I saw on the website
it's still preclinical. It's still preclinical.
Okay.
We need to repeat these tests, see if we can take the H1N1 pandemic data and translate it into corona. If we succeed with that, we have something that no one currently has.
Got it. And I mean, from what you can tell us, I mean, are you working with various government agencies to try and fast track the treatment that you're working on, or is it slow and steady wins the race kind of strategy?
Well, there's a combination of all of that, right? We're working with a vaccine center at the University of Georgia. And we don't have the facilities in which you keep the virus and you do virus challenge tests and all of that. So that's all being done with the University of Georgia Vaccine Center. And just like the initial studies were done at laboratories of the NIAID, because again, we don't have those facilities and you need special facilities. So it's really all about that. But honestly, it is my hope that our drug will not be needed. But unfortunately, so far, the medicines from which we'd hoped that they might help have not helped. So in my dreams, I want us to be super successful as a cancer drug. I want to create the first non-toxic cancer drug. I want to create the first drug that's added to that set of armaments that you use to cure people. Right now it's surgery, radiation, chemo. If we're successful, it should be our drug, surgery, radiation, chemo. If we never do anything else in our lifetime, it's huge, right? If we at CEL-SCI become a major player in COVID-19, simply by the fact that we're not in humans yet, it means that the disease will not have been brought under control. But it is also possible that the first treatments are not going to be that good, and then maybe we can come in later on. But I look at the COVID-19 only as something extra. The focus is on cancer, and it will remain on cancer.
Got it. Okay, so this interview is quite timely. You know, we're recording this on Monday, May 11th. The company just announced your second quarter fiscal 2020 results. Can you provide us an update and kind of a highlight of this release and where the company is at from a corporate perspective?
Well, we have the best balance sheet now in probably 10 years. We have lots of cash. We have no debt, no convertible, nothing that weighs us down. You know, we're at the end of the phase 3 study. 2 weeks ago, we announced that actually 1 week ago, we announced that we have 298 events. What that means is 298 people have died in our study, and that's the point at which we can evaluate the study. The reason we're feeling so positive is because we had expected these 298 people, all of whom are cancer patients, very sick cancer patients, to have died at least 2.5 years ago. So people not dying is a good thing. On top of that, so it looks like it's good. So then people said, oh, well, maybe your standard of care has gotten better. Well, if you went, we actually had people go into the US government SEER database, and they checked for the specific type of patients that we have enrolled in this study in the US during the same time as the study, and their survival was not improved. So it's not the standard of care. So then people said, maybe it's Keytruda, wonder drugs, phenomenal $12 billion drug. It's helped some people a great deal. In head and neck cancer, though, it really hasn't helped that much. But even if you assumed that everybody lives 6 months longer, they died a long time ago because the last patient was treated in September 2016. It's now May 2020, right? If you have head and neck cancer and it recurs, you don't live that long. So therefore, by now, people have accepted it's not Keytruda that's keeping them alive. And the people whose job it is, because we're blinded, to review the study and opine on the study, whether you should continue or shut it down, those people have continued to say, as recently as 2 weeks ago, continue your study. just to show you what another potential outcome could be, there was a recent study by Pfizer and the German Merck, also in head and neck cancer, almost the same patient population. The only difference being that these patients didn't get surgery first. That study was started in November 2016 and was shut down by the IDMC 6 weeks ago. So here, in our case, you have a study of over 9 years where the IDMC says continue. There you had a study of 3.5 years where the IDMC said don't continue because it's not going to be successful. That's called futility. So the bottom line is, many of us in the company, and me most, have continued to put money in because we believe that there will be strong clinical benefit. We don't know the details, we're blinded. But if you have clinical benefit for a drug where the last approval was about 60 years ago, FDA approval, 60 years ago, think about that. Where you cut tongues out, where you chop people's faces in half, where you lose your teeth after radiation, where people starve to death because they can't open their mouths, they eat through a straw. It's miserable. Everybody agrees we need to do better. Where you have orphan drug, and from everything we've seen, our drug is extremely safe. My feeling is, if you show clinical benefit in that horrible disease, then FDA will want to help you to bring the drug to market. So right now, mathematically and statistically, we think there's large clinical benefit. But as a CEO, I don't think of the golden opportunities. I have to say, what happens if it's only half as golden, right? And that's where I come in. Say clinical benefit. Most cancer drugs don't even extend your chance of living. This one looks like it is doing so significantly. And, you know, think about it this way. Right now, surgery is the first treatment for most cancers. Definitely in head and neck cancer, standard of care. If we're right, we should become the first treatment. It's an enormously large application that should make an enormously large difference in the lives of many of these patients and thereby affect their families and their loved ones and friends around.
Got it. All right. So then from what you can tell us, where do we go from here? What are some of the things that investors should look for now moving forward?
Well, let's put the COVID-19 thing on the side. There's this, COVID-19 is obviously on everybody's mind. You open the newspaper, actually don't have to open it. Every single day it's front page news. And you would think no one dies of anything else anymore, right? But so we're in that. We have something very promising. If we can repeat the results from H1N1 pandemic flu, I think it's going to be a huge deal. And we may see things rush forward there. Put it aside though. We are in the final stage of analyzing the phase 3 results. I'm not involved, and therefore I'm not going to give you a timeline. 2 CROs, the people running the clinical trial, and outside helpers are going to lock down the database, and then they will do a full analysis of our results. That is the key event. So it's quite honestly, it boils down to one thing. Either you have it or you don't. And by the very fact that people haven't been dying like one would have expected them to die, and the IDMC has said continue, one would think that we're in the camp of having it. That's where we are.
Perfect. And Geert, with that, where can my audience go and find more information about CEL-SCI and everything they need to know to stay up to date?
Well, we have a website, www.celsci.com, CEL, then the horizontal dash SCI.com. And the way that everybody reaches things these days, you just Google CEL-SCI and there will be a lot of information on there.
Geert, thank you so much for taking the time to do this today. I know you're very busy, so I'll let you go. Thank you. Good luck. And please stay safe. I look forward to our next update.
Thank you, Robert, and everybody, all the best to you. Take care.